If you work in design, you've probably experienced something strange. The tool you once opened to create now starts creating before you do. You open Photoshop, you open Figma, you stare at a blank canvas, waiting for the first idea. But before you've even decided where to begin, the software already has suggestions, a layout, a style, a finished concept. It doesn't just help you create anymore, it starts creating first. At first, it feels incredible. The work that used to take hours now takes minutes. You can explore more ideas, move faster, create things that once felt impossible. A few years ago, this would have felt like magic. But then, something changes. A quiet question starts appearing. Not, is AI powerful? Everyone already knows the answer. The real question is, if technology can now do more and more of what I do, where does that leave me? And maybe you've felt this too. Not just designers, not just programmers, not just people whose work is changing, because AI is no longer just a new technology we are learning to use. It has become something much bigger. A moment that makes many of us quietly question our place in a world that is moving faster than ever. But here's something worth remembering. Feeling uncertain doesn't mean you are falling behind, and there may be another way to look at AI. A perspective that can help you move beyond this fear and see this moment differently, and that's what we're going to explore. Maybe the most interesting thing about AI is not what it can do, it's what it makes us feel. Because throughout history, new technology has always changed the way we work. Machines replaced certain tasks. Computers changed entire industries. The internet transformed how we communicate and create, and every time, people had the same question. What happens to me when the world changes? But this moment feels different, because AI is not only changing the tools we use, it's entering the space where many people have built their confidence. The things they spent years learning, the skills they practiced, the knowledge they worked hard to develop. A designer spent years training their eye, a writer spent years understanding language, a programmer spent years learning how to solve problems, a professional spent years becoming someone others could rely on, and then suddenly, a new tool appears, a tool that can do parts of those things in seconds. Of course, the logical part of our brain understands what is happening. Technology has always changed work. People adapt. New opportunities appear. New skills become valuable. We know this. But emotions don't always follow logic. Because underneath the practical question, will AI change my job? There is often a quieter question, will I still matter in this new world? And that question is much harder, because a job is something we do. But for many people, their work has slowly become connected to who they are. The projects they completed, the problems they solved, the expertise they built, the feeling that after years of effort, they finally became good at something. So when AI suddenly enters that space, it doesn't just create uncertainty about the future, it creates uncertainty about ourselves. Not because people are afraid of progress, not because people refuse to adapt, but because change feels different when it touches something personal. And maybe that is why conversations about AI often become emotional so quickly. People aren't only asking, what can this technology do? They are quietly asking, what does this mean for me? And maybe this is where we need to look at AI differently. Because if we only see this moment as a competition between humans and machines, we may be missing the bigger picture. Maybe the reason AI feels so threatening is because we are comparing ourselves to it in the wrong way. We look at what AI can do, and then we ask, can I still compete? But maybe competition was never the point. A calculator was never created to prove that humans are bad at math. It was created because humans wanted to focus on problems that required more than calculation. A camera did not replace the meaning behind a moment, it gave people a new way to capture it. A computer did not make human thinking unnecessary, it expanded what humans could build. And maybe AI deserves the same perspective. Because the most important question is not, what can AI do that I cannot? There will always be things machines can do better. They can process faster, analyze more information, recognize patterns at incredible speed. That is what makes them powerful. The better question is, What becomes possible when I no longer have to spend all my energy doing what machines are good at? Imagine a writer. AI can help create a first draft in seconds, but it cannot decide what story is worth telling. It cannot know the experience that changed your life, the memory that shaped your perspective, the message you feel the world needs to hear. Imagine a designer. AI can generate hundreds of visual concepts, but it cannot truly understand why one image feels meaningful, why one idea connects with people, why something feels right even before you can explain why. Imagine a leader. AI can organize information, predict possibilities, suggest solutions. But leadership has never been only about having the correct answer. It has always been about understanding people, making difficult decisions, and knowing what matters when the answer is unclear. These are not things that come from having more information. They come from experience, from curiosity, from mistakes, from paying attention to the world around you, from being a person who has actually lived through things. And maybe this is the shift we need to make. For a long time, we believed our value came from being faster, more productive, more efficient, more capable, and those things mattered. But they were never the whole story. Because if the only thing that made you valuable was how quickly you could complete a task, then eventually every new technology would make you feel replaceable. Not just AI, anything, but when you understand that your value comes from something deeper, technology stops looking like a threat. It becomes what it was always meant to be, a tool that helps you go further. The next time AI does something faster than you, don't immediately ask, "Is this proof that I'm becoming less valuable?" Ask, "What part of this still needs my perspective?" Because that is where your value begins. Not in doing everything yourself, but in knowing what deserves to be done. Not in having every answer, but in knowing which questions matter. Not in trying to become more like a machine, but in becoming more intentional about what makes you human. And maybe this is the opportunity hidden inside the uncertainty. AI is not asking us to become less human. It is challenging us to understand what being human means in the first place. AI will continue to evolve. New tools will appear. The way we work will keep changing, and honestly, that is something we should expect. Because change has always been part of being human. Every generation has faced moments when the future felt uncertain. New inventions, new industries, new ways of living, and every time. We were forced to ask the same question. How do we move forward when the world we knew no longer exists? Maybe the answer was never to hold on to the past. And maybe it was never to compete with every new thing that appears. Maybe the answer is learning how to adapt without losing ourselves along the way. Because the future does not belong to people who ignore technology, and it does not belong to people who blindly depend on it. It belongs to people who know how to use powerful tools while still protecting the things that make them who they are. Use AI to explore. Use AI to learn. Use AI to create. Let it remove limitations. Let it help you do things that were once impossible. But never forget, the tool can help you create something. It cannot decide why that creation matters. The tool can give you information. It cannot decide what is meaningful. The tool can help you move faster. It cannot choose the direction of your life. And maybe that is the perspective we need in this new era. Not fear, not denial, not blind excitement, but awareness. The understanding that technology is changing, but our ability to imagine, care, and create meaning is still ours. If this video gave you a different way to think about AI, or helped you see your own value from a new perspective, then that is exactly what we hope to create here at Life Unscripted, a place for conversations that go deeper than the headlines, a place where we don't just talk about what is changing in the world, but what those changes mean for us as human beings. Because the world will keep moving forward. The tools will keep getting better. But the most important question will always remain, are we using technology to become less human, or are we using it to become more fully ourselves? This is Life Unscripted.